They stand in the shadows of history, eclipsed by the monumental fame of Egypt's pharaohs, the brilliance of the Sumerians, and the imperial thunder of Assyria and Babylon. They were called the Amorites. To the powerful cities of Mesopotamia, they were outsiders. Ancient scribes in Sumeria once described the Amorites with disdain. The Amorite knows no grain. He does not build houses. He eats raw meat. Yet within a few centuries, these same outsiders would rule some of the most powerful kingdoms in the ancient world. From Babylon to Mari, Amorite dynasties reshaped the political landscape of Mesopotamia and helped usher in a new era of kings, empires, and law. How did a people once dismissed as desert wanderers rise to dominate the very civilizations that feared them? Their tale begins not with cities of stone, but with landscapes vast, shifting, and unforgiving. The Amorites emerged from the western fringes of the Fertile Crescent, a region stretching from the Levantine highlands into the open steppes of Syria. This was a land of seasonal rains, rugged hills, and wide plains where pastoralism thrived. The Amorites were shaped by this environment, mobile, flexible, and deeply attuned to the rhythms of the land. They were herders and traders, moving with their flocks across territories that bordered the great urban centers of Mesopotamia. To the settled Sumerians, they were outsiders, marked too, the people of the West, described in early inscriptions as those who know not grain, who dwell in tents, who dig up truffles, who have no house, who live in the mountains. Yet these descriptions reveal more about Sumerian anxieties than Amorite reality. As the 3rd millennium BCE unfolded, the climate of the Near East shifted. Rainfall patterns changed, harvests faltered, and the great cities of southern Mesopotamia, Ur, Lagash, Umma, faced increasing pressure. Trade routes became unstable, and the rigid bureaucratic systems of the Sumerian city-states struggled to adapt. Into this world of uncertainty stepped the Amorites. They were not invaders in the traditional sense. Rather, they were migrants, traders, and mercenaries who gradually integrated into the fabric of Mesopotamian society. Their presence grew in the northern and western regions, where cities like Mari, Ebla, and Tutul became centers of Amorite influence. Over time, Amorite clans established themselves as local elites, forming alliances, marrying into ruling families, and eventually seizing power. What began as a trickle of pastoral groups became a demographic and political transformation. The earliest Amorite polities emerged along the Euphrates, where geography offered both opportunity and challenge. The river carved a fertile corridor through the Syrian steppe, creating a chain of settlements that linked the Levant to Mesopotamia. Mari, perched on a bend of the Euphrates, became a crucial hub. Its palace archives, tens of thousands of clay tablets, reveal a world of diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. Here, Amorite rulers corresponded with kings from across the Near East, negotiating alliances, arranging marriages, and coordinating military campaigns. The Mari letters speak of caravans laden with textiles, metals, and precious stone, of emissaries traveling between courts, of prophets delivering divine messages, and of kings who balanced the demands of nomadic tribes with the expectations of urban populations. In one letter, a ruler proclaims, "The land is wide, but the paths of men cross like threads in a loom." This was the world the Amorites mastered, a world of movement, negotiation, and adaptation. Their rise was not uniform. In the south, the last great Sumerian dynasty, the third dynasty of Ur, attempted to control Amorite migration through walls, garrisons, and administrative oversight. The famous Wall of Martu, stretching across the northern frontier, was built to keep Amorite groups at bay. Yet walls cannot stop climate, trade, or human ambition. Amorite leaders entered Ur's bureaucracy, served in its armies, and settled in its hinterlands. When the Ur III state collapsed around 2004 BCE, weakened by internal strain and external pressures, Amorite dynasts stepped into the vacuum. Across Mesopotamia, new kingdoms emerged: Isin, Larsa, Eshnuna, and eventually Babylon, each ruled by Amorite families who blended their pastoral heritage with the administrative traditions of the Sumerians. The Amorite ascendancy reached its zenith with the rise of Babylon under Hammurabi. Hammurabi inherited a kingdom surrounded by rivals, Larsa to the south, Eshnuna to the east, Mari to the northwest. Through diplomacy, alliances, and calculated warfare, he transformed Babylon into the dominant power of Mesopotamia. His law code, inscribed on a basalt stele, proclaimed, I establish justice in the land that the strong might not oppress the weak. Though idealized, the inscription reflects the Amorite synthesis of tradition and innovation. They adopted the legal and administrative frameworks of earlier civilizations, but infused them with their own emphasis on kinship, loyalty, and social cohesion. Yet the Amorites were not defined solely by kings and conquests. Their society was complex, layered, and deeply rooted in both pastoral and urban traditions. Religion played a central role. The Amorite pantheon blended local deities with Mesopotamian gods, creating a rich tapestry of belief. Amuru, their eponymous deity, was a god of the steppe, protector of nomads, and mediator between settled and mobile worlds. He was often depicted with a shepherd's staff, symbolizing guidance and guardianship. But the Amorites also embraced the great gods of Mesopotamia, Enlil, Ishtar, Shamash, integrating them into their rituals and political ideology. Temples became centers of both worship and administration, where priests recorded offerings, interpreted omens, and advised rulers. The Amorite worldview was one of interconnectedness. The divine, the natural, and the human realms were intertwined, each influencing the other. Governance among the Amorites reflected their dual heritage. Kingship was hereditary but not absolute. Rulers relied on councils of elders, tribal leaders, and urban elites. Loyalty was personal as much as institutional, rooted in kinship networks that stretched across regions. This flexibility allowed Amorite states to adapt quickly to changing circumstances, but it also created vulnerabilities. Rival clans competed for power, alliances shifted, and internal divisions sometimes weakened the state. Yet these same dynamics fostered resilience. When one dynasty fell, another rose. When one city was destroyed, another emerged. The Amorites understood that power was not static. It flowed like the rivers they settled beside. Trade was the lifeblood of Amorite civilization. Their networks extended from the Mediterranean coast to the Zagros Mountains, linking diverse cultures and economies. Caravans transported timber from Lebanon, copper from Cyprus, tin from Anatolia, and lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Merchants navigated complex routes, negotiating with local rulers, paying tolls, and managing risks. The Amorites excelled in this environment because they were both insiders and outsiders, familiar with the customs of settled societies yet comfortable in the open landscapes between them. Their mobility allowed them to bridge worlds, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Writing systems evolved to support this complexity. The Amorites adopted cuneiform, using it to record contracts, treaties, and administrative documents. Over time, they developed their own linguistic identity, blending Semitic vocabulary with Mesopotamian script. Language became a tool of integration, enabling Amorite rulers to govern diverse populations. One of the most striking expressions of Amorite ambition and identity was monumental architecture. Among their achievements, the Palace of Mari stands as a testament to their vision. Covering more than 6 acres with nearly 300 rooms, it was a labyrinth of administrative offices, ceremonial halls, and private chambers. Its walls were adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting rituals, processions, and mythological scenes. In one mural, a goddess extends a rod and ring, symbols of authority, to a king, affirming his divine mandate. The palace was not merely a residence, it was a stage upon which the drama of kingship unfolded. Courtiers, scribes, diplomats, and priests moved through its corridors, shaping the policies that influenced the entire region. The palace's scale and sophistication reflect the Amorites' ability to blend their pastoral heritage with the urban traditions of Mesopotamia, creating a new model of statecraft. But no civilization rises without facing trials, and the Amorites were no exception. Their world was one of constant flux, where alliances shifted, resources fluctuated, and external threats loomed. The most devastating challenge came from the east, the Elamites, whose armies swept across Mesopotamia, toppling cities and destabilizing kingdoms. Babylon itself faced repeated assaults, and Hammurabi's successors struggled to maintain the empire he had built. Internal divisions weakened the state, and rival Amorite dynasties competed for dominance. The once unified realm fragmented into smaller kingdoms, each vulnerable to external pressures. The emotional climax of the Amorite story arrives with the destruction of Mari. In the mid 18th century BCE, Hammurabi, once an ally of Mari's king Zimrilim, turned against the city. Whether driven by strategic necessity, political rivalry, or personal ambition, Hammurabi ordered Mari's destruction. The palace that had symbolized Amorite power and cultural brilliance was burned, its archives buried beneath layers of ash. The tablets that survived speak of desperation, betrayal, and the fragility of human endeavor. One inscription laments, "The river that gave life has turned against us. The gods have hidden their faces." Mari's fall marked the end of an era, a moment when the Amorite world fractured under the weight of its own complexity. Yet, even in destruction, the Amorites endured. Their kingdoms persisted in various forms, adapting to new realities. In the Levant, Amorite groups contributed to the cultural mosaic that would later give rise to the Canaanites, Israelites, and Arameans. In Mesopotamia, their influence lived on in the institutions, laws, and administrative practices they helped shape. The Babylonian Empire, though no longer ruled by Amorite dynasts, retained the structures they had established. Their language influenced Akkadian dialects, their religious concepts merged with broader Mesopotamian traditions, their political models informed later empires. The Amorites were not erased, they were absorbed, transformed, and woven into the fabric of Near Eastern civilization.